The BIPOC Coach Collective proudly presents Elevate and Celebrate. This is a podcast to showcase our members, dive deeper into their journeys, and express who they are into the world. Our mission is to curate a brave and authentic space for coaches to connect and to elevate our voices globally in the coaching profession. Learn more about us at bipoccc.org. Your story matters, your voice matters. Let's start the show. Hey, welcome to episode number 33 of Elevate and Celebrate. This is Alex Dumas, Vice President of BIPOC Coach Collective. Our special guest this month is Deanna Jones. Deanna is walking us through her story of transitioning from man to female, transitioning from corporate to speaking to entrepreneurship. And this episode it's heavy and it's also humorous. It's a lot of fun. She shares her story in a powerful way, and that difference of living in a mass, living as somebody you're not supposed to be, and the liberation of being who you are and being able to connect with people in a powerful way. So this episode is for you as an ally, as someone who is going to recognize how important diversity, equity, and inclusion are. So tap in for this, and we're going to see you next month. All right, welcome back to Elevate and Celebrate. I'm Alex here, VP of BIPOC Coach Collective, and we're joined with a very special guest. We have an amazing speaker. We have someone who is the president of the Harmony LGBTQ plus Chamber of Commerce here in North Carolina. Someone who's involved with meeting professionals, International Association of Executives of North Carolina, NSA Carolinas, right? I'm joking, like if you're watching on camera, right? I'm falling under the weight of all these accomplishments and all these accolades. So Deanna, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I truly appreciate this opportunity, Alex, to be here and speak with you and talk about some of the weight of all those roles that I carry now.
Yeah, there's a lot of weight. There's a lot of
I enjoy
funky energy in the world. It started, I mean, sometime around January. I don't know if something happened then that's made it's trickled into heaviness throughout the year, maybe for the next couple of years. I don't know what that could have been, but aside from that, we're here to talk about you, here to learn about you. So let's just jump off into it. Tell us your story.
Well, my story goes a long ways back because I'm old. That's the old joke that we said, yeah, I have to go way back because I'm that old. Uh, I am transgender. I knew that something was different with me when I was 4 years old. I'd never seen a movie about it. I never read a book about it. My sisters didn't force me to dress up, but there was just something in me that it felt like everybody around me was drinking ice water and I was drinking lemon water. That just didn't feel right. And I felt like I wanted to be pretty. As a matter of fact, I would go in the bathroom and pull my sister's clothes out. And this is 4 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old. It was something that never went away. A lot of people think, oh, it's just a phase, but this stayed with me. And when I'm talking in some of my seminars, I'll ask the people, I'll say, how many of you woke up this morning thinking about your gender? And nobody raises their hand. They're like, that's just my gender. I didn't think about my nose or my ears or anything else. And I tell them that for 54 years of my life, I woke up thinking about my gender and why it was what it was. And this is just to provide a little bit of knowledge here. This is what we call gender identity versus biological sex at birth. In other words, the doctor declared me a boy. He was correct and based upon all his many years of teaching. But the organs of someone are typically, created in the first half of the pregnancy. And it's not until the second half of the pregnancy that the brain really develops that identity. And a lot of that depends on the release of hormones.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter what science you believe in. I know that for me, it was with me. I thought about it. I was always attracted to women, so it doesn't mean that I felt I was, also sexually oriented towards men. I was always sexually oriented towards women. So that's two separate things. One is who you go to bed as, the second is who you go to bed with. So I had to survive most of my life with this, and a lot of my stories come from times where I tried to spend time with the girls, and eventually I was told that I was gay, I was a femwad. I was bullied in school because I wanted to hang with the girls so much more than I did the boys. The boys, I just didn't click with them. And eventually, whatever feelings I started having got suppressed down because I couldn't stay that way. I didn't like getting my butt kicked. I didn't like, feeling this way. So I had to put on a mask. I had to be a different way. My you're once you're born, you're put in a box, and it's the boy box and the girl box. And if you try and get out of either one of them, there are severe penalties for that. For instance, your coach may say, "You run like a girl," or "You hit like a girl." And my dad would say, "Stop crying, or I'm gonna put you in one of your sister's dresses." And I would think, "Please." I had to eventually get back in that box and stay in that box. So I did all those things that men growing into boys do. I got a job, I wore a suit and tie, I got married, I had 3 kids. It still never went away, but I thought I've got to live this life because I'm not a girl. I am, in fact, a boy, and I need to follow that. But I always have this thought that when God made me, God looked and said, "I'm going to make this one a girl, but she's going to have to figure it out on her own." And because that's the way it felt, because the feeling just kept growing, and by this point, I've built this entire life of being married, being the man of the house, having the 3 kids, being the dad, and I just there were a lot of other ways that began to manifest itself in very unhealthy ways, we can say. For instance, I was eating too much. I weighed 320 pounds. I was drinking too much. I actually had to go down into a crawl space underneath my house just to be who I was. If but for a moment I could just breathe. And, eventually, and this is one of the things I usually say in my talk, if you're in a crawl space, you can either just lay down and die, or you can crawl out. And I did finally crawl out. I went to a therapist, and the therapist looks at me and says, "You don't want to be a woman, do you?" And I think, okay, I go to a second therapist, someone who might know a little more about this. And it actually took a few therapists to get to someone who said, "Deanna, you are transgender. It's never going to go away. You can live a life, the rest of your life in misery, or you can become that thing that you are, and you will be a happier person." And I thought, wow, that almost sounds like a sales pitch. And I thought it was too good to be true.
Right, there's a timeshare waiting for you. Just
That's right. There's just this timeshare. Just
yeah,
put this dress on. It'll be
yeah.
okay. But she was more than correct about that. The only problem is, and this is always a problem when you transition late in life, you've built this whole life as one thing, and now you have to come to everybody and say, "I'm sorry, that really wasn't me." And that was the worst part of it. It wasn't transitioning. It was I lost my family. My wife, ex-wife, was very angry at me, and I get it. We were very much in love,
Yeah.
and I had to tell her I can't do this anymore because I will die. And it was a realization that I was so unhealthy, drinking so much that I would probably die in my early 60s, which I am 61. So hey, I have made it.
Yeah.
And it's my relationship with the kids is strained. I think that'll change over time. They just happen to be a little bit slow to get around to it, and I do understand that because I took away their dad, even though I told them they could call me dad. But I don't want to sit here and say, "Woe is me, it's all bad news," because I met someone new. She's a nurse at Duke, and we got married last year at Duke Chapel. And yes, and we have 2 kids that she had from a previous marriage, and it's amazing. Those kids love me so much, and we actually had a few NSA. Shout out to NSA. There were a few NSA members who came to my wedding. Alex, I'm sure you would have been there had I known you then. But it was a wonderful wedding, and I just this time I got to wear what I wanted to wear, and that's sort of the personal side. The other side is I stayed in corporate America for 35 years. 25 years was at Cisco Systems, and I was in sales, and I enjoyed sales. And in the beginning, Cisco was that company everybody wanted to work for. But by the end, I did not enjoy working for it at all. And I was ready to get out of that corporate environment because I was still suppressing myself. I was the person. I used to be kind of a comedian, and I used to try to entertain people in second and third and fourth grade, but that kind of got beat out of me. And I remember my dad saying, "You can't make anything being the class clown." And so I started to realize, well, if I was able to change this part of myself, maybe there's another part of myself I could change. And I realized, Alex, I had one more transition to make, and that was out of corporate America.
Mhm.
And that's when things started really getting wild for me. And I started joining as many organizations as I could. It's amazing when you finally present yourself in the world as you truly are, all bets are off because you can do and feel and say what it is that you want to say, whereas before you felt you had to kind of be in a corner and stay quiet. And so I went to a chamber meeting. I didn't know anybody there. And somebody comes up to me and says, "Tell me about yourself." And I used to hate that question because I didn't really know how to answer it. But I told this guy everything, and I didn't know it at the time, but he was the president. And today I'm the president of that chamber, and I make sure that I go around and I ask people, "Hey, just tell me about yourself." It's an amazing life to get to live finally as the true authentic self that I know authenticity gets used a lot, but the person that I knew I was supposed to be. Yeah, that's pretty much the story.
Boom, I
Uh,
think we can end the episode right there. No, I kidding. No, I love it. Thank you for sharing that.
yeah,
That's
I can. Yeah,
awesome. And gosh, man, just so many insights. We could have like a conversation for like 2 hours just based off of
we could, and we
those
will.
first 10 alone, 10 minutes alone.
Yeah,
I want to just acknowledge, honor you, right? Of
thank you.
stepping out as who you are. And I think that's a lot of that's a challenge for a lot of people, like to be who they want to be and realize that, hey, some bridges are going to be burned.
Yeah,
Can you live with that, with what's behind you, with the ashes, so to speak, and make your own way and thrive? And I'll share some with you later on, like offline. So I'm keeping them on
okay.
my head right now. But it's interesting how we live lives through these masks, right? I like to say we're consumed in costumes because it's
We
supposed to
are.
be this way, and
Yeah,
you're not supposed to be this loud. You're not supposed to be this aggressive, right? Especially for our audience, our members, our people who are members of the global majority. Why are you wearing your hair that way? Oh, you can't talk with that accent like that. You can't have slang. You can't, right? All
yeah,
these unspoken, like, ways to fit into the box and make sure you do the walk the right way and talk
yes,
the right way. It's not meant
yeah.
to be that way.
No, that's a great point. I've had so many people advise me, and I know Sarah Glover talks about this, or Dr. Nova, as you
Yeah,
say, which I
yeah,
absolutely love
yeah.
that.
Shout out to Sarah
About
Nova, current president of NSA
current
Carolina.
president of NSA. That's right, a good friend to both of us. But she talks about, getting criticized for some things that she says, and that men are always trying to give her advice, or she's getting advice from so many people. And I think we just kind of get used to that. But there are ways that I identify with things I never thought I'd have to identify with. And that is one of them, for instance, is when I had to leave the house, I had to get a new house, and I was worried for the first time in my life about, are my neighbors going to accept me? And it really put me in a place of things that people, BIPOC, have been dealing with their whole lives. Like
Yeah.
you move to a neighborhood and you think, are they going to accept me, or is it okay? And as a white man, I never thought about that once. You move from the world so differently. And it was good. And I tell some men, you should try one time worrying about a neighborhood you might move into, because people are going to have, oh, you shouldn't do that, or you shouldn't, move there.
Yeah.
And as I've been in this field of diversity and inclusion, I have really begun to understand that yes, it's a problem with transgender people, but a much bigger problem is the discrimination that is still occurring and even growing more today. And I am going to go out there and speak against it. We're going back to a monoculture, which is very scary for me. And I know that was one of the things we talked about on the panel, but yeah, I don't know if we can, discuss what's going on. Just I
No.
know this is for BIPOC, but and I
Yeah.
want to make sure I get there. But it's awful, I think, what's happening. And just like when I asked that question, how many people here have seen or been a victim of discrimination? Everybody raises their hand, yet we're not allowed to say it. We're not allowed to say diversity. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Especially when you look at the landscape of the world, all these different cultures that have come together, bring ideas, innovation that
Yeah.
have come together from two people, different backgrounds for a common cause, for usually a common good, and how much that helps people. But you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, it is. But even as a white transgender girl, I am safer. A black transgender woman
Yeah.
has 61% of transgender people that are murdered are black women. And that there's something wrong with that. I mean, because that's the percentage is much lower in the population. And yeah, so there's all sorts of differences that we have based upon our ethnicities. But yeah,
Yeah, it's the unfortunate reality of that level of targeting and
yes,
bigotry and
yes.
discrimination. So, kind of, I guess segue into to your work in diversity, equity, and inclusion. Like, walk me through that a little bit. Like, who are the people you serve, and what kind of difference are they making?
Yeah, I started off in diversity, and what I would do is I would go and I would tell my story about what my story was and what happened to me. And I had so many people come up to me and say, "Wow, that meant a lot," or "I had never really thought about it that way." And that was how I got into this, because I wanted to work in this field, because I could see so many inequities going on, and I started to realize, what privileged I had had or I had enjoyed throughout my life, and suddenly a lot of that privilege, not all of it, but a lot of it, had been taken away. And suddenly I'm understanding that this is a big problem in this country. So I started working in that space. I started going out and doing DEI talks. And then, like a lot of other people who are talking about DEI, last October, all of a sudden I started getting engagements canceled on me. People were like, no, we can't talk about that now.
Mm.
And of course, we want to say, no, now is the time to
Yeah.
talk about it. You have these people that are out there, saying these crazy things, and they're getting away with it, and we're moving backwards. But I got canceled, so I started looking at doing other things if I could. And this is again the universe and God speaking to you. I just didn't feel comfortable doing those things. And there's nothing wrong with people who do talk about those. I enjoy those conversations, but I don't feel that's why I was put here. And I realized when I went and worked with a coach, and he said to me, Deanna, now's not the time to keep the lid on yourself. I don't care what the consequences are. And that really hit home with me, because I had kept a lid on myself my whole life. So I doubled down. I was one of those double down. That's actually my Google alerts, doubling down on DEI, because I want to hear about people that are doing that. And I'm starting to see a little bit more of that backlash against the backlash, and people are returning to that. And I'll tell you, I had an experience with Chuck Gallagher, who's also an NSA, and we were out to dinner one night, and the waiter brought out a free entree, and I was like, "What is this for?" And he says to me, "Deanna, I heard you speak a year ago. You changed my life." And of course, immediately I started bawling, and Chuck's sort of interviewing him, like, why did that happen and things like that. And I had been talking to Chuck about, about didn't feel comfortable talking about some of the things I was talking about because I felt like a lot of other people are doing that and that's not what I'm supposed to do. But after he left, Chuck said, "You need me to tell you what you need to talk about." And I was like, "No, sir. I think I understand it now." And part of that is just being, telling stories about things that are happening and being open and honest and saying things that other people may or may not be saying out there. We can't talk nicely, or I don't want to say we can't talk nicely, but we can't talk softly about DEI right now. It's just ludicrous to think about what's going on and think also about Gen Z and millennials who enjoy working in diverse companies. And that's one of the first things they say when they come into a job is what are your diversity policies? So I feel like this is the last gasp, but there's so many myths out there like merit. We talked about that on the panel. But my work is going to stay my work in doing this. I'm not going to stop because we're not there yet. And I don't know that we will be in my lifetime, but I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that everyone gets to feel accepted in this country because that's what this country was supposed to be about. And I think some people have forgotten that who may have families that go back 2 generations, some of them even 1 generation.
Right.
We are, we're putting them in an order of things to people who are just now, coming over or maybe have been over half a generation. So
Mm.
yeah, it's important work. It needs to be done, and I'm going to continue to do it.
Yeah, appreciate you for doing that and for being the person who's willing to take that stand, right? I'm like my speaker. I talk about speaking up and standing out like you are kind of the embodiment of that, right? Of making sure that people know their stories matter, that their voices matter. And with I guess this other, I'm gonna say population, but people who are maybe not as educated about diversity, equity, inclusion, like what are some things that some recommendations, are there resources, are there best practices that someone can do to, I hate to say, it's like be more inclusive. Like, how do you do that? Like, hey, just be more welcoming to people. Like, do you have
Yeah.
any advice for that?
I think when people ask me that, I will usually tell them that we need allies. Okay. We need people who are not part of our community speaking out for us. That's the only way we're going to do this. As president of Harmony, I would say 25%, maybe almost 30% of our membership are allies. They are not part of the LGBT community,
Yeah.
but they are there to fight for us. And just like Black NSA, or we have LGBTQ NSA, Pride NSA. I can't remember exactly what it is, but I would say we need people fighting for this because it's the right thing to do. Our society will succeed when everyone is able to, put forth their best effort. And so it's in the interest of allies to build everyone up. And I appreciate our allies and everything that they do. I think just besides being having allies speak up for you, invite people to events. For instance, the event Activate Good we were part of. See how many people, we can get there to come and have these discussions because I know when all of us were talking, there were some good discussions going on. We can't, you know, we can't suppress free speech and say, well, we can't talk about that now. And so companies do need to talk about it because if here's the thing, Gen Z to put up with it. People in our chamber, the Harmony Chamber, that are starting their own businesses because they simply don't like what's going on in corporations. And I think that uh, until we learn to be open about this and until we learn to make sure that everyone is welcomed at a company and everyone is supported and every voice is heard, they don't want to be there. And who are you going to hire in the next, say, 20 years? By 2030, the BIPOC population is going to be almost 48% of the workforce. So these are facts and numbers that bear out. Baby boomers will be retiring. You can't really work when you're past 80 years old. Although I don't know,
In most cases.
you and I are in a business where there are speakers that are 80 years old, and
Yeah.
it's funny because I think, wow, they must really love what they do. But there are statistics that are changing, and so you have to make people aware that this may be one movement, but it's the facts. There are hardcore facts that support. That's what we have to help people. We can't always talk about it with emotion, but we can talk about it with facts. And the facts of this are your organization does better. And I know you're aware of this, but it does better financially. It does better on employee surveys if you have a diverse group of people working in your company.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Point blank period, right? You just
yeah,
I'm of the ilk of, man, we're stronger together.
we are.
Why would I gatekeep or blacklist some or blackball somebody? There's so much brilliance that's untapped that maybe hasn't even been acknowledged or even approached, right? And I used to be
Yeah,
in it when I was in the corporate space. In meetings, just kind of like zip it up. I don't want to say the wrong thing, right? Quote
yeah,
unquote. I don't want to be laughed at like, oh man, look at the black dude. I can't even get it right. Like
right.
all these insecurities, all these things are weighing in. So, I'm just trying to even picture your role for decades, not being able to be yourself, at least publicly express and what that tension's like, and just going around with everything's fine. And inside, like you want to like you're ready to like combust, right? But
No, you're right. We have to quell a lot of questions or emotions because there are those tropes. People go, oh, it's the angry black man. Oh,
yeah,
it's the transgender woman who thinks she suddenly knows everything now, and
yeah.
let me give her advice. And on that note, I wanted to say one other thing about Dr. Supernova. That is going to stick. Sarah, if you're out there, we love you. But she told me how many times she gets advice, and I said it's really interesting because since I transitioned, I get a lot more advice too, and that's true. I've also, I've been some plumber tried to take advantage of me, not in a bad way, but
Right. Oh, I think I lost you. Oh,
being
there you
in,
are. Okay. Yeah, froze up for a second. I heard like
oh,
the plumber tried to take advantage of you, then I missed the other part. I'll cut out that stop.
yeah. And I was saying it wasn't in a bad way. It was just, it was trying to overcharge me. And I find it interesting that, yeah, people snap judgments based upon what they see.
Right.
And that's never a good thing. So, yeah,
Yeah.
sorry about my internet connection. I hope it's clear now.
No, no, you're right. You're solid.
Okay.
No, you
Right.
mentioned this group a couple of times, so I want to just acknowledge, activate good, Rose, Lisa. We appreciate
Yes.
give you some
Yes.
love
Activate.
here, pew pew pew, heart bombs. So that's how we got connected earlier this year. I mean, I think we had kind of known about each other a little bit through the NSA group, but we actually got a chance to connect, interact at their panel event earlier this year, the Triangle Businesses for Good Summit that happened in Raleigh. So,
Yeah.
just walk me through that. Like, how did you get connected with them? Like your relationship with Activate Good.
Well, after I transitioned, there were not enough places for me to go because, and I remember my sister got so angry with me because I kept wanting to go see people I knew
Mm.
before because I wanted to tell them, look, this is who I've been, this is who I was. And so that sort of parlayed into going to almost every single event that was out there. I mean, I would just, and this is the time I was living by myself. And it was after COVID and we were starting to all emerge. It was like almost like someone going to AA meetings, but I was looking for any meetings. I was looking for just places to go and see people and talk to people. And I met so many people. And Alex, one day somebody came up to me and said, "Oh yeah, we met 2 weeks ago." And I thought, "Oh yeah." And I counted up an average of going to all these places. I was meeting approximately 50 people every 2 weeks. And so I just really got out there. And then I became president of Harmony. And I would much rather be out talking to people. And this is an interesting aspect of being a speaker. There's a lot of work to it, and a lot of us just want to be out talking because that's what we do, right? But there is so much work that goes behind the scenes. And so I'm learning to sort of back down on a lot of the events I go to. But that was just how I met Lisa with Activate Good, was being at an event. We have there Raleigh has its out Raleigh event where they have probably, I don't know, 500 vendors, maybe a few less than that. But I just would walk and just introduce myself to everybody. I remember some people at Cisco were thinking that had seen me. They were like, "Wow, you're really different now," and you smile a lot more. And I do smile a lot more because the veil has been lifted, and I appreciate that. But yeah, it's just been through networking, but. Again, we can do too much networking and not enough of the back end stuff.
Yeah, yeah, the work.
But I think you and I are sort of in the same place. How long have you been speaking, Alex?
Yeah, so thank you for asking.
Yeah.
So I would say January 2022 is where I had like my first real experience on stage. That was from an event that myself and a few other coaches created, and but I'll talk about it in a book I co-authored where that was out of desperation because we signed up for a coaching program, didn't have any money, so we had to come up with an idea to drum it up, and we figured out making let's make a 1 day event. We did that, and we were able actually to set this precedent with it where the money that we gathered from ticket sales, rather than do the original intention of paying this coach, he enrolled us into donating to charity. So we connected with several nonprofits out in Arizona because the rest of the coaches were in Arizona. I'm here in NC, so we flew out there, put on this show, gave this money out, and then other people were inspired from it, and they kind of had their own spin-offs of this event and doing the same thing, drumming up hundreds of thousands of dollars for different charities and organizations. So that's kind of like my little woohoo rafter moment, Hall of Fame, like in my heart. But just recognizing like this is the power of when you bring different people together, right? Because I knew one of those coaches, like I kind of, we had a good relationship, but the other two, I didn't really know them from anything. So one's Filipino descent, this other gentleman's Hispanic, this other lady's white, I'm black. Like you got like this whole hodgepodge of
Yeah,
of
I love
different
it.
backgrounds. But this is what when I go on stage, I'm like, this is what happens when you put people together who are different. Because
Yeah,
my thought process is real different from them. I had to adjust, right? Compromise. It's tough working with a team sometimes, but when you have a big goal, when you have a big dream, big vision, all that kind of stuff goes to the side. Like something that might annoy me typically, I'd be like, all right, well, okay, we brush it past because like the big picture is in mind. So to answer your question, right, long story, because speakers always love to tell stories. Yeah, for these past few years and being a part of NSA Carolinas over this last now almost 2 years is really accelerating my growth. Being people around people like Larry, good old Uncle Larry Long, our immediate past president, Sarah Nova,
yeah.
John Edwards, the list goes on and on. Rich Gilliam, like just if I'm not name dropping you, sorry, it's not personal. Just we don't have time for all the names right now.
No, I know. I understand. We don't mean to leave anyone out because they're all wonderful. And If I could, I'd just like to tell you my experience
Yeah.
that I had because it was actually near the same time, October 2021. I spoke at the Monty, which is a storytelling group here in Durham, and you basically go and you tell your story. And I thought, well, I've got a story to tell, and uh, it was in front of 200 people.
Oof.
And I was a little bit nervous, but then I got up there and I started telling the story, and it just flowed from me. And I got a standing ovation,
Yeah.
and I was hooked. That was it. I was just
Yeah.
hooked. I was like, this is what I want to do. And I went to my first NSA meeting in 2022. Kelly Swanson was there. Sarah and I started at the same time. Um, I think it was Sarah. Maybe it was, I don't remember. It was somebody else that we started on the exact same day. Oh, it was Michelle. That's who it was. But anyway, I heard Kelly Swanson, and then I was even further bit by the bug, and I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. And if I could just interject something that I'm kind of working on now, that is an aspect of my transition that I had not really thought about until that person came up and said, well, you changed my life. And it is that we are not doing a good job in corporate America finding people's passions, what lights them up. I was lit up by speaking. I can't tell you how many times that I would go to my manager and say, I think I'd like to try something maybe in training or education because I thoroughly enjoy doing that. And I was always kind of stay in your lane. We
Yeah.
can't afford to lose anybody now. But, 86% of us have a passion. Only 13% of us are living that passion. And I did not realize that was my true passion. It were little things I did that made me feel good. For instance, in my late 40s, I decided to start coaching T-ball. I looked forward to it every single weekend. It was just like, helping those kids and watching them when they hit the ball and their eyes just light up and they go, wow. And I loved it. And then I taught at the Durham Literacy Center for a while. And that kind of goes with, if you could just do something, maybe an hour a week that's your passion. But what we really should be doing is finding people's passions at work. You and I, we know our passions. It's speaking in front of people. It's relaying knowledge. It's putting people together, especially for you, because you put these groups together. That's your passion. What if you had a job? What if a corporation could provide a job? So my transition is not, it was not the end all be all. Again, I had that other transition to make so I could find what gifts that I have that I think not only I benefit from, but other people benefit from. And that's one nice thing about being an NSA is that you see people who are doing what they are passionate about. And to do this macro analysis spreadsheet. I hated it. I hate math. Of course, most speakers will probably say that, right? Because we talk pretty. We don't
Except when the account, like when the cha-ching happens, then
exactly.
that's great math. That's like, all right, addition, subtraction. Ooh.
Yeah. No, can't do the subtraction, right. But I hated it, and most of us hate it. We didn't like doing it. It's the whole pivot tables and everything. But there were three people on our team. It was very annoying to me. They loved it, and they would tell me, "Oh, I get such a big thrill out of doing this and coming up with the right numbers." And so I thought, okay, well, I'll give you $100 if you do mine. Uh, and maybe I can speak for you someday, but we all do have gifts. That's what makes this universe, this world so interesting, is that all of us have different gifts and we need to find them. For me, it was, there are lots of events, but it was transitioning that allowed me to have the freedom to suddenly say, hey, I can do something that I love to do now because I did this. It doesn't have to even be transition. You could lose a job and suddenly decide I want to work with nonprofits. If you could get a divorce, David Brooks has a book out called The Second Mountain, and it's about when some people get older in life and they're done with what they've hated doing their whole lives. So they create this new career for themselves that's based upon a passion that they have. And I just think it's so important if we do that. And That's just a thought that I've been playing around with in my head, that I think it would be valuable. And it's not to say everybody should quit their jobs. It's to say that companies should have a culture of helping people find out what they're good at, what lights them up, because otherwise they're not going to be happy there.
Yeah,
And it's just going to be a job.
yeah. And think about the
What's your passion, Alex? What is your passion? And I know it, but I want to hear you say it, please.
uh, uh, creating.
Creating.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think that shows up in a lot of different spaces. I love creating music, so as we're
Oh,
recording this a week ago or so, I released an instrumental album, right? And that is scary in itself, right? That's not to compare, but it's like my coming out of like, all right, this is something different that people don't really know me for, or wouldn't really. Well, how are they gonna accept it? How are they gonna receive it? Are they gonna be like, oh, this sucks, this is trash? All right, I felt it was good enough. I enjoyed it enough. I just wanted to share it, right? And I
yeah.
think that way I embody what God is to me, right? God is love, and there's so
Yes.
much love that it's like I just had to create other stuff because I love it, right? And there's other things, words, speaking, right?
Speaking,
That's
yeah.
a way to create relationships. So I think that's always been a part of who I am, and just feeling weird as a kid because my mind is thinking all these different things, and people are like, you're over here in outer space right now. Like, come back to Earth. No, no, no. Space is like more fun for me to think about that.
Yeah. No, I didn't know that about you and music. So that's
Yeah.
fascinating. There are quite a few musicians in NSA that uh, I think that started speaking, and they sort of integrate the two, always to an outstanding effect. I can just think of some of the ones I've seen at NSA, but yeah, that's interesting. That's fascinating. And you worked in corporate America, and I don't imagine you got to do music in your corporate job, or
No, no.
yeah, I didn't think so.
So
Oh,
my background in the corporate space, I started off in the nonprofit space, so working with special needs individuals with
okay.
autism, traumatic brain injuries, like all whole spectrum of different things. And that, I'll have to dive into that a little bit at some point and just kind of give people those experiences. Like I tell my kids some of the stories, like, wow, that is wild. Like, yeah, this is what it was. Like you have families and different personalities and staff. I was managing people at a young age, probably by 25, opening group homes, being tasked with that. I'm like, I don't know what to do, but I'll
Yeah.
do it, and kind of figure out things along the way. Uh, then I switched into like disaster recovery back in New York. We had Superstorm Sandy. That was one of the
Yeah.
most amazing times of my life because I met so many amazing people, so many fun people I'm still connected with to this day, right? They're going to be lifelong friends. And we all went through this similar experience of like this natural disaster and now really trying to rebuild our city, our state. And then 2016, I found my way into the world of speaking. That was my first introduction into speaking. I was working for a job, and my job was to uh, sell these different services to this particular group. So professional speakers, coaches, digital marketers. So my whole day was spent prospecting people, looking on websites, going to conferences and seeing this like live and in person. I'm like, whoa, I think I can do that. So I just give you that timeline, right? 2016, seeing these things happen, and then 2022, I actually make that leap. So some people can be like, wow, you're doing great, you're amazing, you're successful. It's happening so quickly. Like, bro, this took years. And
Yeah.
me just kind of like silent, like, I want to do that. I'm on the sidelines. It'd be nice. Maybe I could, but who's gonna want to hear me? I don't have a story. I don't think I and just
Yeah.
shrink.
Shrink from it. Yeah.
And this experience, like I told you earlier with myself and these other coaches, there really was no time to think. We had 73 days from the time we spoke the idea, right? Words matter, they create, until the actual event, putting almost 300 people in a room. Like it was a wild time, but that's what I love about creativity because good things happen all the time, but great things happen at once. Like, boom,
Yeah.
let's go. And See, I'm fired up now. I'm getting sweaty just thinking about that time because it's there's something about being a part of a team and then having a bigger vision than ourselves, right? Because if I tried to do it, maybe I could have done it, but by myself, like, ugh, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Other people, other gifts, other talents, people who can negotiate with hotels. My gift was my energy, enrolling people, reaching out to people, calling people like, hey, we need your help. This is what we're doing. But like just on it and mobilizing people.
I love that. Yeah, I can see your eyes light up when you talk about it, and that's the true sign. And I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, you get worked up and get sweaty, and you're so like you're in that moment, and that's wonderful. And I noticed you start doing some interesting things with film. The one you did with the sandwich, just that cracked me up. I love that. I've got an idea for you for a future podcast. How old is your son? Or you have how many kids?
Yeah, my son's 10 at the time of recording, and then my daughter's maybe 15.
Okay. Here's what I think you should do because we want to hear from you. We want a podcast interviewing you. So get your 15-year-old daughter, and maybe you could have the son interview you, and you could tell all these stories. Because a lot of times it's just the guest is the focal point.
Yeah,
But you should do that. I'm serious. I'm thoroughly enjoying your videos. I love
yeah,
that you've moved into that a little bit. I
yeah.
think it gathers a lot of attention and I don't know why slapstick comedy has always been funny to me. And when he comes and he smacks that sandwich out, that's priceless.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. He's a good friend of mine. Yeah, we
yeah.
could talk more about that offline. 'Cause, yeah,
Yeah, well, video's the thing now. Those short videos, that's, LinkedIn kind of did a 180 on that. And because it was hard to get YouTube videos
right.
posted on LinkedIn. So now you can post them natively and you get some really good responses. So,
Yeah, and that is also a credit to the NSA group and other just other coaches that I follow as well. As I
yeah.
pay attention, like you have Frank Kitchen, awesome brother right there.
Yeah,
Dr.
amazing.
Will Moreland, solid people. Like just Sarah. As I'm paying attention to her LinkedIn, like, oh, what do I see? Short clips, them speaking. If you're
Yeah,
a speaker, you speak. Oh, duh. Yeah, people need to
yeah,
speak. Hello. And even just me stepping more into like MCing too. I'm like, oh yeah, this is what I love to do. That's a natural. I don't have to think about that. I could do that all day, twice on Sundays, of just
yeah.
introducing people, edifying them. Like, come on, someone pay me for it. Like, stop. Like, that's the icing
Yeah.
on the cake. I would do that. Just I'm not doing it for free. So anyone listening, like, la la la, cut the check. But
Well, we've all done our things for free.
yeah,
Yeah,
and that's fine too. As another NSA guy, right? Stan Phelps, who was my mentor
yeah,
in this previous cohort, he helped me look at it as they're not free gigs, right? And he hates the word gig, so like I'm just teasing Stan gig.
gig. That's right. Get them going.
Engagements, right? They're showcases. This is your opportunity to practice. This is your opportunity to get referrals. This is your opportunity to get the exposure, to get the real
Exactly.
experience, get on the field, as I like to say, because we never want to say the words for the first time in front of like that live group. So I think you mentioned it earlier about the work behind the scenes. And I think that's the scary part for a lot of people. They want it boom. And it's like,
Yeah,
nah, you gotta get that jersey dirty, get be willing. I put it like this way. You have to be willing to either look good or get better. It's hard to do both at the same time. You're going to be humiliated, embarrassed. You're going to be like, oh, why did I say that? What was I thinking? I'm such a moron. Deanna probably thinks I'm stupid. Oh my God.
I
And
don't think that.
sit and
Yeah,
saute in that. And
yeah,
then also, well, what can I do better?
yeah,
Who can improve? Who can help me? Are there resources available? Right now, we can get into creativity versus condemnation. Well, I suck. I'm a loser. I'm never going to be good enough. I guess I'll never just speak again. I guess I'll just, go and kill my dreams and I'm done.
yeah. Yeah, we all have those moments. And I'll tell you something regarding this business. I love my work, but I've never worked harder in my life. I work Saturdays, Sundays. I'm working, doing everything I can because
You
there's a
must have one
lot.
of those mean bosses too.
Yeah, that's right. I am to myself. Yeah, I need an executive assistant that I can be mean to. No, I would never do that. But yeah, there is a lot it needs done. It is behind the scenes, and I'm like you. I love to create. I can sit and write stories and talks, and I'm happy as a lark. But then I think, okay, now we've got to go out and sell this. We've got to reach the decision makers. We have all these other things that we need to do. A lot of people, I think, get in the business, and I was one of them. Like, oh, if I speak, they will come. Well, that maybe that it was that way one day, but a long time ago. But it's not that way today.
Oh God. Yeah, I
Yeah,
could tell you some stories of, hey, I built the website. Where
that's
are
right.
they? They're gonna come any
They're
minute.
going to come. That's right.
They said build the webinar, have the free thing, the swipe file, the PDF, the download, the
I'm
this,
just going to
that,
wait for the
this.
business now.
And I'm a leader, but ain't nobody following.
There's nobody following. Yeah, yeah. But we'll get there. We're going to get there
So this has been really fun. I want
together.
to, kind of land the plane, close this out. So, mm, what are you excited about with life, business into the remainder of what this 2025 is and moving forward? Like, what's gonna light you up?
I think what lights me up is now I have this talk that is really resonating with a lot of people. I'm looking forward to giving it because I haven't given it yet. I've pretty much have it all written out, and it's about the gifts that we're giving and how we bury those gifts. I'm looking forward to doing a TEDx talk. Yes, I'm being hopeful. I'm putting it out there for the
You speak,
universe.
you
I
speak into
am.
existence. Yes.
And yeah, I'm just looking forward to continuing to do what I do. And if I can, get a few gigs or two, I'll go to Paris with my wife in October. We are planning
Hey.
a trip. So yes, no freebies, right? I can't go to Paris free. But she works as a nurse, so it's good. We have to have some income, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just looking forward to this new talk and it really resonating. And I know when I talk about it, I can get emotional about it, and it just feels to me this is what one of the things that I need to speak about. So
Yeah. Well, I
yeah,
appreciate you.
but
Thank you for who
I
you are, the work
thank
you're
you.
doing, the person you're being, and it just being, once again, right, being a stand for other people who may feel like their voices don't matter or they have nothing to offer the world or no value, and they can see you as an example, like, wow, okay, these dreams, these ideas, these goals, they're actually possible. I got
Yes,
to be able to have the courage to step forward. And if someone can hear like, oh, that's all the motivation over. Like, no, it's not. It's the truth. Like, it's just one step, then that next step. The second step is probably the scarier one because now you're committed. First
yeah.
one, you can like tiptoe and like, oh, I'm gonna back out. Like, I think about like somebody on a trapeze, right? That first step, yeah, that's pretty easy. That second and third is like, oh, I'm on this now. I'm either going forward or I'm falling, and that's about it. Those are your options.
That's well said. Yes. Yeah.
Um,
Well, thank you so much. Can I ask you what you're looking forward to this year before we sign off?
yeah, yeah, for
One
sure.
thing?
I am looking forward to more stages and just being able to amplify my message and connect with more people. And
Yeah.
as as you know, have experienced, the more we get on the stage, the more we're on the mic, the more we practice our talk, the more we say the words and embody them, the easier it gets, and the more relaxed we can be, and the more present we can be with that one, that two, that three people that we pick out of a crowd and land in their hearts too. So I'm excited about these different opportunities. I'm excited about my kids with school. My son's starting a new school pretty soon, and my daughter's crushing it in high school, which is
So good to hear.
my daughter is high school.
No, it goes fast after middle school, it seems like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited for my wife. I'm nudging her to contact Sybil, like, hey, get on that TEDx women's stage. Like she's got a freaking story to share. So yeah, I'm just excited for life and
Yeah.
growing in my faith, growing with the young men that I'm mentor and act as a student leader in my local church. So I'm just excited for a lot of growth this year.
Good. Well, I'll just tell you this. I've appreciated that you invited me here. I consider you an ally. Please know I'm an ally for you as well. And this has been wonderful. This has been one of my favorite podcasts. And so, yes, nothing but love. And I appreciate you.
Likewise,
And
much
I'm
love.
looking forward to working more with you. So, sitting next to you on more panels.
Yes, yes, literally. Like, I'll show
Yes.
you all the picture at some point, right? Or just follow us on LinkedIn. You'll see it all over. Anyway,
No,
Deanna, appreciate you.
thank
It's been an
you.
honor to elevate and celebrate you. And for anyone watching, anyone listening, we'll be back next month. So tap in. Until next Thanks time. for Stay watching blessed. this episode. If you got value from this, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. And feel free to connect with us at bipoccc.org. See you next time.